Today's class is going to look at the importance of breath work in a yoga practice, as well as teaching you some very simple ways of engaging with your breath in a different way. All through the day. So for example, when you come to a yoga class and we say something like, switch your breathing on, you are breathing involuntarily all day long without any thought. When you switch towards more active recruitment of your breath, the process is more mindful, but is also more involved when you can then either pay attention to the nuances of the breath or begin to change and vary both the inhale, the exhale, and the pauses in between. The work that we're doing today is to teach you a little bit about breathing into the abdomen, breathing into the upper body, and breathing using different applications of pressure into the chest and into the abdomen. Those of you that have a history of anxiety, tendency is this area is very locked up, the diaphragm is difficult to move, and we'll be looking at ways that you can actually unlock that a little bit, get the diaphragm moving and transform your breath work in your practice. Almost every class that I teach starts with breath work, so it's a really important part that we then use throughout the class. So those of you that are new to yoga, this is a really great place for you to start, and you can do this anywhere. You don't need to be lying down, you can play with this sitting in the car. So I hope that you enjoy the video. Any questions, chuck it into the comment section below and I'll do my best to get back to them. For this class, you're going to need a rolled up yoga mat. If you've got a rolled up mat that we use in some of the other sessions, use that, or roll up a towel. I've used like inflatable exercise balls as well, but have them about a third of the air out of them, so a little bit softer. That can give you a really good tactile feel. If you've used any of the sort of yoga tune-up things, they've got a Cordius ball. That one works really well. You can use that underneath the abdomen, underneath the back muscles when we get to it. To begin with, lie down on your back and have the feet flat to the floor. Move any props out of the way so you can get yourself comfortable and settled. Once you're down on your back, bring your hands onto the abdomen. With the hands on the abdomen, simply close the eyes and observe your breathing. Aiming to not change it, interrupt it, but simply to observe. So this first bit of practice is simply paying attention. Resist the urge to control or modify the breath. So if you feel like there's a way that you should be breathing just now, worry less about that. Instead, allow this to guide your attention somewhere. So perhaps the physical sensations at the nostrils or the mouth, or the gentle undulating movements around the abdomen and the ribs. As you start to let your attention focus, you will become aware of parts that are responding to being on the floor, and maybe there's impulses like drawing the shoulders down, lengthening out the neck as your body adjusts to a more supine position. With the hands on the abdomen, begin to actively deepen your breath. So now taking more charge and authority over the breathing and aiming to do your inhale for a count of 5 and your exhale for a count of 6. As you breathe in this way, engage your throat muscles the same way that you would when whispering, and then an audible component will be added to the breath. So a little bit like Darth Vader breathing, or as if you were trying to frost some glass with your breath. Continue breathing in this way. So inhale for 5 and exhale for 6, and feel for this being an experience for the entire torso. So not necessarily just abdomen or just chest, but just letting the breathing expand with that whisper ujjayi sound. With the hands on the abdomen, you're going to be beginning the inhale, feeling for an expansion in the lower abdomen, upper abdomen, and then chest on one inhalation. And then on the exhale, pulling the belly button down towards the ground. So abdominal recruitment on the exhale. Inhale into abdomen. So lower abdomen, upper abdomen, and then chest. Exhale, pull belly down. Inhale into low abdomen, upper abdomen and low ribs, and then ribs. Exhale, pull belly muscles down. Do 2 more, aiming to make sure that the inhale is slightly shorter than your exhale, even though there is a little bit more focus on where and what is happening on the inhalation. And with the hands on the abdomen, next time that you exhale, do that move of belly button pulling down towards the spine and then keep that there. So abdominal muscles are firm. Inhale almost exclusively into the chest. So feeling the movement in the ribs. Exhale until empty, exhaling for 6. Inhale to stretch the ribs sidewards and upwards. Do 1 more of these thoracic breaths, getting side ribs and chest, moving, abdomen stays firm or as firm as possible. So that's us worked on abdominal breathing, thoracic breathing, so getting the chest moving. Next piece you're going to do, take the rolled up mat or the towel or whatever else that it is that you're using. You're going to take it to where your low ribs are. So not your lower back, but definitely onto the ribs. If you're using the core juice ball, same thing, putting it underneath the low ribs. And then coming back down, and what this should do is it should pop your low ribs up. Ideally, shoulders and head are on the floor. If that isn't happening, move it a little bit further down, ideally pelvis on the floor. Now some people like to do this one with the legs straight forwards. This creates a wee bit more opening through the front of the body. I like to have my feet flat, so I'm focusing more on what's happening in the rib cage. Have the hands onto the low ribs. Your aim here is actually to shear into this part more, so we're actively stretching the diaphragm. So it is abdominal breathing, but it will move into the upper abdomen. Exhale until you are empty. Inhale to expand into low ribs. Exhale, belly button pulls towards the spine. Inhale into low ribs. This time, bring the arms overhead. Same thing, 2 breaths to feel low ribs expanding. Roll to one side, bring yourself up, turn this, so this time you're going to be getting your shoulder blades onto the middle part of the roll and the head on there. So this creates a little bit more of an opening into the chest and the upper back, so no longer necessarily the low rib interface, but a little bit more of a chest opener. Draw the shoulders down away from the ears, palms face up. This time, abdomen will stay firm. Direct the breath up into collarbones so you begin to feel clavicular breathing, getting this area of the body moving. Now if it's helpful for you to visualize, like when you feel your collarbone, right behind there is like right the very top part of your lung. So your ribs exist all the way up there and it's filled with lung tissue all the way up there. You can breathe in a way that moves this tissue. It just requires a very deep breath. Notice if when you're doing this you tense the neck muscles, aim to keep neck relaxed. Abdomen firm. Inhale, expand the breath into chest, up into collarbones. Do 3 more like this. Roll to one side. Bring yourself up from the ground. Move any of the rolled up mats out of the way. This time you'll be coming down onto your abdomen. Using abdominal pressure, similar to what we did in abdominal breathing, but feeling how the pressure of the floor and of gravity pressing into the back changes the recruitment of the muscles. When my low back is in spasm, I find this breath is really useful for softening up into the places in the lower back that feel really grabby, but also for getting the back ribs and some of the respiratory muscles in the back kicking in a little bit. So muscles that are considered muscles of inspiration that exist on your back. So come down onto the abdomen, find a position that's comfortable for the head. I like to have the neck neutral rather than twisted when doing breath work. So it might be hands on fists, hands on head, or even if you've got that roll, you can set your head onto the roll. Roll your thigh bones inwards and do a little bit of tailbone tuck towards heels. Inhale into abdomen. And feel how your back and your ribs are lifting. Exhale, relax abdomen. Inhale, press the abdomen into the floor. Exhale, relax the abdomen. Make sure relax isn't the same as engage. One more like that. And take that roll underneath the abdomen, making sure that the ribs and pelvis aren't touching that area. Now this is going to feel quite different. Arms relaxed down by the sides, either forehead down or chin down, or wherever the arms need to be to create the best level of support. Relax the abdominals. Inhale, press abdomen into the rolled up mat, ball, towel, whatever you're using. And feel how abdominal pressure is changing the sensations. Exhale for roughly a count of 6. Inhale into abdomen. Exhale. This time, inhale until full. Engage the abdominal muscles, holding the breath. Exhale, soften abdominal muscles as much as possible. One more like that. Inhale into abdomen. Hold the breath, engage abdominal muscles. Exhale, relax the abdomen. Prop up onto your elbows. Roll is staying underneath the abdomen. During the inhale, there'll be a bearing down into the abdomen, which will create a little bit of lift. On the exhale, a little bit of a side bend action. Inhale, press abdomen into the roll. Exhale, take a little side bend to the right, so right ribs squeeze towards the right hip. Inhale back through center. Exhale, side bend left. Inhale through center. Begin to take a little bit of a rolling action side to side through pelvis, so massaging towards the obliques, through the abdominal wall, and onto the obliques on the other side. You can do this with chest down to create different results, but massaging into the abdominals. This one works really well if you've got that ball under the abdomen. It still feels good other than that. Use your hands under your shoulders, pick yourself up, and then move it out of the way unless you need it to sit upon. Choose a comfortable seat and then aim to lift up. It might be sitting on a block for now. Use your hands behind you. Now, hands behind you isn't so you can lean back, but more to press the chest a little forwards, lifting the chest and drawing the shoulder blades back. So creating a more open space around the collarbones. So frequently when I see people come into class, arms tend to roll a little forwards, and that's, you know, computers, driving, anything, reading, anything that involves your arms being in front of you. Doing breath work in a little bit more open state through the stuff we've been doing today can be really useful, but even while sitting, this can be very useful. Take a few steady breaths before we move on to our last breathing exercise for now. So eyes are closed, inhale into abdomen, then into chest. Exhale for a count of 6, pulling the abdomen in but without rounding into the back. 2 more. Now on this extra breath, observe how your breathing feels after all this prep work of opening up different places and of working with different pressures. The last thing we're working on is Uddiyana. To do Uddiyana, you'll be doing a deep breath in, a big exhale through the mouth, holding your breath and getting the diaphragm to scoop up, and it creates this lifting action. Now this is something that a lot of people have a hard time with. If it's difficult, do it laying down. You'll be able to feel the abdominals can relax better. Engaging your core muscles is not the same thing. So you're thinking you've got like rectus abdominis, you've got transverse abdominis, you've got obliques. It's none of those things. It is diaphragm. So the aim is to do a big exhale, holding your breath, trying to inhale, but without allowing any air to come in. And this will create that lift in the diaphragm. When you do deep breathing, the diaphragm's moving like this anyway. This is just giving us a different way to interface with this, to stretch it, and to create a little bit of a pull where the diaphragm adheres to your spinal column. So it looks like this, those of you that are new to it. So you can see it's different to engaging the abdomen or rounding. If anything, the ribs are opening up, diaphragm is scooping upwards. It's a curious one. So it's your turn. Use your hands behind you to lift chest up. If you're on your back, go for feet flat and bring the hands onto your abdomen so you can feel this. If you're sitting up, take a hand onto the low ribs so you can feel if there is movement and if there's more movement to be had. Take a deep breath in. Exhale through the mouth, quick but thorough. Hold the breath, scoop ribs and diaphragm up. Release the abdomen, take a deep breath in. Exhale through the mouth. Hold the breath, lift ribs and diaphragm up. Relax the abdomen, take a breath in. Bring the hands onto the knees. Go for palms up unless you need the support of hands behind you. If you're on your back, stay laying on your back. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths, but focus your attention on the physical sensations. So we began with the sensation of air coming in through the nose, the movement in the chest and the abdomen. I want you to feel how 3-dimensional the breath can be now that you've done some work to open up different places. Not necessarily massive physical asana to open up places, but a lot of work to move muscles that you use when you're breathing that don't get much of a look in during involuntary breath action. So eyes are closed, 3 steady breaths. Get interested in how much you can pay attention. There's nothing visually to see in the video, but guide your attention inwards. Blink your eyes open. Thank you for joining me for this today. This work, even if you didn't feel like it was massively physical or you didn't break a sweat, that doesn't mean it isn't valuable. In the 8-limbed path of yoga, so the word Ashtanga, 8 limbs, there are 8 components of yoga, like yama, niyama, then pranayama. Pranayama being 3rd, asana 4th, sensory withdrawal 5th. So this process you've been doing, you've done pratyahara, the sensory withdrawal part. We did some asana, but it comes back to the breath. So when you come to classes of mine, we start with breath work. And I think that's a really important way to do a lot of the checking in that we don't usually have time for. So those of you that are doing some of the other practices on the channel, do this at the start of your practice, then jump onto another video if you wish to pursue something more physical, but know that in the end it is all going to weave together into this really strong braid of many different facets brought in.